Once you have realized, or once you have picked up on the cue that you can actually not buy your kids affection, you will be liberated as a parent beyond comprehension. Welcome back to my channel, you guys. I am your girl, Nihanda Hino Helmker, and tonight we're going to be talking about spoiling your kids. Everything you need to know not to fall into this trap. So, if you guys have been following me for a time now, you would hear me talk from time and time about my two daughters, right? I have one daughter who is much, much older than my youngest. They're about over 10 years apart. I know my people have been telling me that I shouldn't overshare. Guilty. So my girls are very much extreme ends of the age spectrum. And so I actually had gotten a lot of experience in parenting when we decided to have our second child. And one of the things that I realized early on that I pondered over for a very long time is how to give my daughter this feeling of security, abundance. Notice I didn't say lack, but abundance. And while still showing her that she could have, be, or do anything that she wants within the constraints of her capability and my own. And it was very difficult as a single mom. Like when my husband and I got together, that got way easier. And him as a new parent was just wanting to give our daughter everything, which was very interesting for me because I remember distinctly not wanting to give her things, especially even when I could, because I was always worried and wondering about money. Is the money going to be enough? And so I could remember there were times where I thought if she had this thing, she would know that I loved her and that she would be happy. I'm going to talk about that in a minute, but first, I just want to drive home the point that you cannot buy your kids. And how I know this is because the thing that I discovered about like my daughter, our daughter really, really is a person that loves experiences. More so than that, she loves spending time with her family, as do almost all children do. They want to see us happy. They want to feel connected to the people around them. And for the first 10 years of their lives, scientists and psychologists have proven that you are like their best friend. By the time they turn 11, 12, that changes drastically, and you're just the old person that's kind of weird and embarrassing and isn't hip. If you're lucky, like us, you that will never happen. But for the most part, that is a time where you want to be cultivating experiences. And I'm very happy that we picked up on that cue very early on and invested in spending time with our children because no matter what the toy or the thing cost, it always only lasted a couple of months maximum before the rush and joy and aesthetic wore off, and it was just another thing that they had. And when I had my second child, I realized that I could be very selective in the money that I spent and on what I spent it on based on two things: what they are usually generally interested in, and what I know is going to bring them some kind of productivity in their time of the day. The worst purchase, one of the worst purchases that I've had, I'm going to talk about that in another video in more detail, but was the cell phone. I think that that was just way too soon. I got some really bad advice from a really good friend and went ahead and got the cell phone before we wanted to actually buy the cell phone. But that aside, all the toys that we've bought, it would be like the best thing for about a couple of months maximum. And then it was just a thing that they had that they were no longer so interested. I mean, they would still play with it. They would still be like, oh, yeah, I have that thing. Let me go play with that. But nothing would drive home as much value to them as spending time with them or playing a game or doing something that we would connect with each other with. And so that told me that while I wanted to show my kids that I love them by getting them everything that they wanted, liked, and needed, that that didn't have to be the only way that I showed my love and affection. As a matter of fact, I would much rather like have breakfast or brunch at a nice restaurant or go on a trip somewhere than to do those things. And it meant saying no a lot of times. But the other thing was being able to show the difference between material wealth and spiritual wealth. And I know a lot of people kind of like cringe and back away when I say spiritual because they think maybe religious or praying, which is something that we do, but you don't have to do that. I think one of the things about spirituality is being able to feel a level of connectedness and joy and um happiness and talking about your emotions and having family meetings so that your kids can feel heard and so everybody can feel heard. Spirituality doesn't have to be this real structured, regimented way of communication, but it is something that is lacking so much more than it was in prior generations that I think can be very, very beneficial to young people, especially in the day and age in which they're growing up. Um, Material, but I also want to make sure that they understand that material wealth is absolutely great because it's a very physical, tangible way of showing that you can accomplish things and that you can discipline and look forward to things and reach goals. And a physical representation of that is always very inspiring for you to want to go out and get more. I'm not knocking spiritual, material wealth at all. No, there are a lot of ways that I show my material wealth because we are part of a community, right? And money is a tool that you can use while interacting with your community. Let's go for lunch. Let's go for a coffee. Um, Showing up in ways and in spaces where you can be a contributor to that community. And money is absolutely a way that you can use to feel connected and be significant in your community. And so having those conversations with my children, with our children in the past 3 years, I guess it's been more significant because now the younger one is getting to an age where she can understand numbers and understand that things cost and that there are trade-offs and that you have to prioritize your spending and that you shouldn't be impulsive all the time. That was one of my greatest lessons in your shopping. And so money, we really talk about what money is and be very intentional about understanding, helping your kid understand not to make money something bad. I think that was one of the things that I struggled with a lot is that money was only for people who were bad. And if you wanted to be virtuous and good, you had to be poor while still wanting to be rich. The desire to be rich came with a lot of guilt. And what we've done is to try to release our children of that guilt of wanting to have material things while still understanding that the real happiness does not always come from the money. It comes from understanding how to use money to make your life the most fulfilling. I want to thank you guys for stopping by. Again, I'm 1 minute and some change over, but I hope that this information has been of value to you. If you are already not liked and subscribed to this channel, please go ahead and do so. You would be doing me a solid. We are looking forward to our 100 mark break by the end of August, and hopefully we will reach there, right? Like and share. So I'll see you again in the next one. And stay free.